Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Future of Hollywood. We have been sitting down with an amazing actor, writer, director, Brionne Davis. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about inspiration. I got a really quick story to tell you about inspiration, all right? It was about maybe 10 years or so ago. I'm sitting in an acting class, just like you guys sit in almost every single day. And one of the actors from class gets up and does some kind of monologue that he wrote himself. And I'm watching, I'm like, I've never done anything like this. This is crazy. What the hell is he doing? And he's just doing these weird things, talking in different voices, and I was inspired. And at the time, I loved theater. So I said to myself, I was like, I'm going to approach this actor and I'm going to offer to direct this show that he was working on. He kept on saying that he's working on a one-man show. So I was like, I'm going to throw myself out there. And that man is Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington, ladies and gentlemen.
Shit.
No.
I didn't know
That man, of course, is Brionne Davis. So sure enough, after his monologue, I approached him, and we were just in the same acting class, two actors in the same acting class. And I said, Brionne, what do you want to do with this project, and can I direct it? And he's all like, I don't, yeah, sure. So you remember that day?
I remember, and Ross
thing.
Levinson was right behind me because I said, all I need now is a composer, and Ross goes, I'll compose it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and Ross was another actor in the studio that was also a musician and a composer. And that's what I'm talking about, inspiration. So cut to Brionne and I, who, I knew him, but he was just another classmate of mine. We became very, very tight, very close friends because we went to war. I feel like we went, when you go to war with somebody and you build that kind of bond, like a band of brothers. And that's what we did. We went to war and we produced this amazing one-man show. I was directing, he was the actor, he played 12 different characters from Tennessee Williams. And I was like, what? And it was like, okay, so he wrote this long thing and we cut it down. This scene works, this scene doesn't work. And we just had an amazing experience. He played everyone from Stanley Kowalski to Blanche Dubois. And he's going just in it, just him on stage the whole time. And we figured out different ways, and it was just an amazing experience. So I know you have stories. A couple of stories that I want to talk about is, he mentioned in the last episode something about him being a diva. And he said it as if it was a joke. But as his director in this project,
You enabled it, by the way. You enabled it.
All right, so tell them the story about the kind of like, I had a dream.
Okay.
Shows up one day on the set, I had a dream last night.
This is, okay.
Go ahead.
So I would call him at 3 a.m. I would call him at ungodly hours, and I just told him, I'm gonna be calling you. Every time I have an idea, I'm gonna call you. So, it would be I have this idea for this, and then I said I want backup dancers, and he's like, what? It's a one-man show. I was like, no.
Backup dance.
There's a way that this can be done.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it's going to be done, but I'm going to be Brionne in the middle, Tennessee Williams is going to be a backup dancer, and then we're going to have
dance.
Valentine Xavier is going to be the other backup dancer. So,
But he doesn't know how he wants to do it. That's where he left me with that.
and I said, I'm thinking maybe like shadows or something. And he goes, all right, Brionne, I don't know. I'll make it happen. I'll make it happen. Next thing I know, Andrew and I and Anthony are in this parking lot, and we're shooting shadows. Me dancing as Tennessee Williams, me dancing as Valentine
Against
Xavier.
a white, we could only find one white wall. It was somewhere in West Hollywood. I was like, stand on that wall and dance. Go! And we're filming it. Stand on that wall and dance as Tennessee Williams. And then he is, stand on that wall and dance as this. And we filmed it all, shadowed it out, and we pulled it off. And it turned into this amazing dance with different characters. Brionne's there in the big shadow here, and they're all dancing to the same choreography. And I'm like, I'm in the sound booth looking at it, and I'm like, what the fuck did we just do?
They projected it. So it was awesome.
Crazy.
And because, we didn't say that can't be done. it
Can't
just
be done.
with Anthony. It just got
Can't
done.
be done.
Somehow.
And he's like, could this be done? And I'm like, yes, I don't know how, but we're gonna do it.
And sometimes I would just try to like fuck with him, and then the next thing you know, whatever it was, and so request after request after request, and I would wake up in the middle of the night with these dreams and this stuff, and I wanted the bathtub to come out and the candles, and at this point I become Blanche Dubois, and then then Stanley Kowalski, I become him, and he rapes myself, and
he actually raped himself. We're not kidding. It's crazy.
Not really. It was
again,
kind of a metaphor.
I know where you're going with this, guy.
So Blanche had this vanity, and he's like, "What?" And this is after all these requests. So Blanche has this vanity, and he goes, "Well, what color do you want the vanity?" And I look at the set, and I look around. I don't know, like a blue or a purple, maybe like an indigo. And he goes, "You can indigo fuck yourself."
He wanted an indigo light. I didn't even know what that was. He was like, can we have an indigo light shining on the vanity as I'm putting on my makeup? I'm like, what the fuck, man? And he loves that. He talks to me all the time. He says, indigo fuck yourself. Every time he's mad at me, he says, you could indigo fuck yourself. And it was just an absolute beautiful all-around experience that
was the first. Yeah. That was the first time I realized that I can do absolutely anything.
And that was the first time you convinced me that you could do absolutely anything too. And that's the kind of thing that careers are made of. And that's how you build your career. You have a thought, you have a dream, you have a passion, and you just write it down, you get it down, but it doesn't end there, it begins there. And you surround yourself with people that inspire you and that are inspired by you, and you make beautiful things happen. It was like, what, like a 6-month period 10 years ago, at least, maybe more. But the whole thing was probably a year.
It took me 2 years to write.
Yeah, the whole experience was crazy. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. As stressful as it was at times, sometimes we were playing to an audience that there was 3 people in the audience. It's a one-man show. There's 4 people in the entire theater, including the actor. And, and it gets stressful and frustrated, but we still had a great time.
Yeah.
One time he was like, all right, there's only 2 people in the audience. What do you want to do? I was like, what do you want to do? We're doing this. We're doing this, man.
Well, no, I didn't say that. You asked me that.
Yeah.
And I said, well, they're here.
So you were the one that said it's doing it. So you were the one that said.
Of course. You didn't want to put me through a whole...
So basically, those are the kind of things that...
Opening night, there was 120 people in the audience. We're done.
And that's it. And we could have just died that night. And it's like, now we're happy. Who cares what happens at the next? But we did realize one thing. After all that experience, we realized that we were the future of Hollywood. And that kind of was the catalyst into my teaching career. I started teaching shortly after that and directing and that kind of stuff. And I knew that we were more in control about the future of Hollywood than we thought. Brionne is going to answer any question that you may have, and I know you have a million questions for him. So without further ado, who has some questions for Brionne? Angelica?
Hi, Brionne. I just wanted to know, what kind of characters are you most drawn to when you want to play a certain role?
I love villains because I feel like there's a world to explore that's further outside the box of the leading man role. I feel like there's more choices that I can make, and I can branch outside the script even further and even more. So I like the villains, character-based, leading men type characters.
Thank you, Angelica. Does anyone have any other questions for Brionne? Ben.
Yeah, what inspired you to become an actor at such an early age?
I was doing Tom Sawyer at age of 9. I was painting a fence. I was the only one on stage. And my back was toward the audience. I hear this laughter. I turn around, walk to the edge of the stage, and I look at them, and they start laughing harder. And I shrug, and I go back to the fence, and I'm painting the fence, and they laugh even harder. I have no idea what they were laughing about to this day, but I know that I moved people, and I know I made them laugh. And in that moment, I realized that there was a service. There was something I could do, and make people feel good.
Thank you, Ben. Anyone else? Question for Brionne? Tony?
Brionne, how you doing? Quick question. Back earlier in the segment, you said about the indigenous. You was talking to a guy, one of your friends, who was like helping you there, and he was like a co-star, and he wasn't like, he was like a non-actor. And you said that when you spoke to him, that he got real shaken by the things that you said. After he knew that you was just acting, was it harder for you to get into character? Because he already knew that that you wasn't serious.
Well, there's the understanding. It was kind of a miscommunication, really, because I was thinking, since he's not an actor, then he's going to assume that I'm saying these things to him and meaning these things to him. In that moment, I got in my head, but once and trust is everything, and that's what I didn't feel like I had from him. So once I acquired that trust with him, then it was fine. But because there was I felt potentially there was a lack of trust for me on his part. That's what put me in my head in that moment.
We have time for one more question. Brenda?
Hi. I would like to know what the toughest thing for you was to overcome to get to where you are now.
Very good question. People telling me I couldn't, because that rings in here, you know? And then your mind, your ego, is that safe place of what it knows. It only knows the future, which is a lie, and your mind only knows the past. It's not capable of existing in the moment. This is capable of existing right now. And once you get rid of that stuff, and those voices of your childhood, and those voices of people who haven't been able to do it, who are afraid, that's what this is, fear. So you get rid of that, listen to this, and once I understood that, then I still have it, you know, but it's a constant, daily thing to get over. But
Very good question. Very good question. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Look at this. Very, very good. So that is all the time we have for this episode. But you guys all know that this is not the end. This is just the beginning, because the future of Hollywood knows that the best is yet to come. Brionne Davis, ladies and gentlemen. Brionne Davis.